CNN military analyst Dana Pittard. We also have with us Josh Rogan. He's a Washington Post columnist and a CNN political analyst as well. General Pittard, I'd like to get your reaction first on the news of that Russian missile strike against a railway station. This is a critical exit point. This isn't a military installation. It's a station where civilians are trying to leave Donbass, a region that has been the focus of intense fighting by the Russians.
Well, good morning, Boris and Christy. Obviously, the attack on the train station is horrible, using a short-range ballistic missile where there's civilians. You're going to have civilian casualties. We've talked about the movement from the Kyiv region to eastern Ukraine by both Russian forces and Ukrainian forces. You know, the Russian forces were using what we call exterior lines. They had to move through Belarus and/or Russia to get to eastern Ukraine. Now, the Ukrainian forces had an advantage because they had a shorter way to go through the roads and the railways to get to eastern Ukraine, what we call interior lines. The fact that the Ukrainian forces were also using the rail lines is an issue. And I think the Ukrainian government's got to look at the dual use of those lines between civilian refugees leaving and military supplies and troop movements going in there. But there's still no excuse for what Russia has done in this illegal war.
Josh, I'm curious because as the days go on, we've seen more and more evidence that the Russians are potentially committing war crimes. I think it's hard to make the case that targeting a railway station is a step towards some kind of military accomplishment, an achievement in a military agenda. From your perspective, why isn't more of the world condemning this? Countries like Israel or India that are kind of straddling both sides of this conflict.
Well, Boris, that's a really important question. The Russian Foreign Ministry actually admitted that the attack on the rail station was a war crime. Of course, they claimed it was the Ukrainian forces that attacked their own rail station, which doesn't make any sense. But the fact that they called it a war crime means that when the evidence does emerge, and it surely will, that these attacks can be attributed back to Russian forces, that war crime can be prosecuted. There's no statute of limitations. The blame falls on everyone from the guy who pulled the trigger all the way up to the guy who gave the order, and that's Vladimir Putin. And as these war crimes mount in places like Kharkiv and Mariupol and Bucha and many more and more countries will be pressured and feel pressure to get off the fence. We're talking about India, we're talking about Israel, we're talking about lots of other countries that have tried to stay neutral for whatever reason. Some have security relationships with Russia, some have economic relationships with Russia, but more and more, again, as these atrocities mount, the people in these countries are shocked and mortified, and they'll put pressure on their governments to an extent, and then the international community will eventually come around, I hope, to the realization that a country that's committing war crimes cannot be considered a member of the international community in good standing, and a country that wants to be a member of the international community in good standing cannot remain neutral.
And Joshua, I want to stay with you because you wrote about Israel's position in all of this week. I believe we have a full screen. You wrote, quote, Israel's balancing act of maintaining its ties to Russia while offering only tepid support for Ukraine is becoming morally and strategically untenable. Make the case. Why is this strategically untenable for Israel?
Right. The Israeli government under Prime Minister Bennett has said that they need to maintain relationship with Russia and that Israel as a small country can be a go-between. But according to many Israelis that I talked to, including Natan Sharansky, the famous Israeli politician and human rights activist, and who spent 9 years in a Soviet gulag, that position is becoming untenable for a really important reason. Because the things that Israel stands for, democracy, freedom, and human rights, cannot be reconciled with their stance of neutrality on the Russia-Ukraine crisis. Moreover, the fact that Russia is continuing to attack Ukraine means that the spillover effects will affect Israel. We're talking about an economic crisis, an energy crisis, an agricultural crisis, to add to the crisis that faces free and open societies. Those things Israel cannot wall itself away from. Therefore, their neutrality is not only morally indefensible as the country that was born out of the Holocaust and is committed to stand against mass atrocities, but it's also strategically stupid because Israel has to live in this world like the rest of us, and the fallout of this war will affect them sooner or later. So the best way to end it is to help the Ukrainians beat Russia and push the Russians out of Ukraine now. And that means taking a side and arming the Ukrainians to the teeth, in my view.
And General, last question to you. It seems pretty clear that the Russian military has had to recalibrate its efforts after serious disappointments in Ukraine. And now senior U.S. defense officials believe that Russia is actively trying to recruit some 60,000 new troops. The intelligence shows that Russian forces have not solved some logistics and sustainment problems. How do you read this intelligence in the context of the strength of the Russian military and their capabilities?
Well, I think the intelligence is fairly accurate. The Russians have had morale problems. They've had logistics problems. They've had a lot of problems, command and control problems. But Russia still, even with those problems, has immense capability. On April 1st, they had 135,000 conscripts come into the Russian military that will be trained and eventually be used at some point. So Russia has the capability, but what Russia does not have, and Ukraine does have, is the will to fight. And that's an intangible that can't really be measured. The Russians have had success in the past in eastern Ukraine. They're hoping to have more success again. The war's gone on for 8 years in eastern Ukraine, and they're trying hard to have some level or claim some kind of victory by the May 9th, 77th anniversary of the end of World War II, called the Great Patriotic War in Russia, which is a huge deal. So we're going to see much more activity in the East because of that.
We will certainly be watching, and we expect some kind of a response from Vladimir Putin. We'll see how it might impact this invasion moving forward. Major General Dana Pittard, Josh Rogan, always a pleasure to have you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.